The sizzle of steak punctuates the air as I stand at the edge of my brother-in-law's birthday celebration, a glass of water clutched in my hand. Crystal tumblers flash under the restaurant's soft lighting, catching fire from amber whiskey. Around me, conversation flows as easily as the alcohol, but I remain anchored to my spot, adrift in a sea of people who have known me for 7 years yet never bothered to see me. "Another round for the birthday boy," Travis calls from the head of the table, his voice carrying that particular cadence that draws all eyes to him. My husband of 7 years sits like a king holding court, his tailored suit jacket casually draped over his chair, shirt sleeves rolled to showcase his tennis-toned forearms. The server nods, charmed by his wink. Nate, celebrating 38 years and his recent promotion, raises his glass. "To family," he announces, with the same dismissive head tilt his brother has perfected. "To family," the table echoes. Travis doesn't look my way. He hasn't noticed I'm still standing after returning from the restroom, caught between wanting to rejoin the table and wishing I could disappear through the restaurant's heavy oak doors. "Speaking of family," Travis continues, swirling the last of his bourbon, "I was reviewing our accounts last night." He pauses for effect, a technique he's mastered in the courtroom. "My wife's spending habits are why I'll never retire. If she disappeared tomorrow, our bank account would finally notice." Laughter erupts around the table. Crystal glasses clink in toast to his wit. The sound scrapes against my ears like fingernails on chalkboard. I feel Gwen's hand touch my wrist under the table as I finally slide back into my seat. Her eyes meet mine in quiet understanding, the only person not laughing. My cousin Valerie flinches visibly, having witnessed these jokes before. Judge Wilson, Travis's mentor, chuckles uncomfortably, checking his watch. "Markets have been rough on everyone," he offers, perhaps sensing my discomfort. But Travis is already launching into another story, basking in his audience's approval. I watch him perform, noting how the corner of his left eye crinkles when his smile isn't genuine. After 7 years, I've cataloged all his tells, a useless encyclopedia of a man who stopped seeing me years ago. I twist my wedding ring knot, my grandmother's modest band with its single small diamond, but the ostentatious 3-carat stone Travis insisted on upgrading to after his first major case victory. The weight of it suddenly feels unbearable against my skin, like a shackle rather than a symbol. I meet Travis's eyes across the table and raise my water glass in mock agreement. To noticing what's missing, I say quietly, but clearly. The table falls momentarily silent. Travis's smile falters before he recovers. "See? She's a good sport," he announces, and the conversation mercifully shifts to Nate's new boat. The rest of dinner passes in a blur of forced smiles and careful nods. I find myself studying each person at the table, memorizing the scene like someone might catalog the details of an accident. Travis, commanding attention with stories of his latest courtroom victory. Nate, encouraging his brother with competitive laughter, both sharing that Caldwell confidence that borders on arrogance. Gwen, my best friend since college, watching me with concern she tries to mask behind her wine glass. Judge Wilson, whose approval Travis craves more than oxygen, nodding appreciatively at my husband's cleverness, while occasionally glancing my way with something that might be pity. Valerie, picking at her dessert, having witnessed too many of these dinners to maintain the pretense of enjoyment. "You're quiet tonight," Travis murmurs later as we wait for the valet. His hand rests possessively on the small of my back, warm through the fabric of my dress. "Just tired," I reply, the practiced response automatic after years of use. "You should get more sleep," he says, as if solving a simple problem. "Your eye cream isn't working anymore." The valet pulls up with our car, saving me from a response. Travis tips generously, another performance for anyone watching. The passenger door opens for me, and I slide inside, breathing in the leather scent that once represented success but now smells like confinement. The drive home stretches in silence. I stare out the window, watching darkness blanket familiar streets, mentally calculating the minutes until I can be alone. "Wilson might be retiring next year," Travis finally says, eyes on the road. The firm is already discussing who'll take his client roster. That's great, I respond, knowing my role in this conversation. You're the obvious choice. He smiles, pleased. We'll need to host a dinner soon. Make sure you wear that blue dress, the one that doesn't make you look so washed out. I nod, adding it to my mental checklist, a familiar weight settling in my chest. At home, Travis heads straight to his study with a final kiss on my cheek, distracted already by tomorrow's cases. I move through our house like a ghost, turning off lights, straightening the throw pillows Travis never puts back, washing the coffee mug he left in the sink. In our bathroom, I stare at my reflection as I remove my makeup. 34 years old, and the woman looking back at me seems like a stranger, someone who has learned to smile without her eyes reaching her lips, someone who measures her words so carefully they've lost all meaning. I twist off my wedding ring, setting it beside the sink with a decisive click. The indentation on my finger remains, 7 years deep. I had no idea that Travis's casual cruelty that night would be the last favor he ever did for me. In bed, I lie awake long after Travis's breathing has deepened into sleep. 30 days until the Caldwell family's annual Christmas dinner, when Travis would announce his new partnership and we'd host everyone at our home. 30 days to make a decision that had been brewing for years. I turn on my side, away from my husband's sleeping form, and begin to count my options instead of sheep. Later that night, at 2:13 a.m., while Travis slept soundly beside me, I stood at our bedroom window. Outside, the winter sky sparkled with stars, each one a cold, distant pinpoint of light. I counted them methodically, the way I used to count sheep as a child. 1, 2, 3. As anything to avoid counting the hours until morning, when I would have to resume my performance as the perfect, untroubled wife. Travis snored softly, his body sprawled across our king-sized bed, taking up more than his share of space, just as he did in every aspect of our lives. The moonlight cast shadows across his face, softening the hard lines around his mouth that appeared when he was displeased with me. In Boston last spring, he had forgotten me at a legal conference, leaving me stranded at the hotel while he went bar hopping with colleagues. I had waited until midnight before accepting he wasn't coming back, then taken a late-night bus home alone, calling 3 times before he answered. Sorry, honey. The guys wanted to hit that new bar. Figured you'd understand, he had said, his voice slurring slightly. No offer to come get me. No recognition of my fear traveling alone past midnight. 2 months later, I found receipts for flowers I never received. The arrangement appeared the next day on his secretary's desk. When I quietly asked about it that evening, Travis barely looked up from his phone. Lisa's grandmother died. Office morale, Marla. Don't make this weird. I turned from the window and surveyed our bedroom, cataloging 7 years of marriage with the precision of an accountant. 7 years of cooking his favorite meal spot roast on Sundays, salmon with dill on Wednesdays, steak on special occasions, 0 recognition. 7 years of managing our household, scheduling service appointments, remembering his mother's birthday, 0 assistance. 7 years supporting his career advancement, hosting partners for dinner, editing his briefs late into the night, 0 gratitude. 7 years of sacrificing my own career opportunities when they conflicted with his, 0 acknowledgement. The ledger was painfully clear. At 3:24 a.m., I stood in our bathroom, studying my reflection under the harsh vanity lights Travis had insisted on installing. Better for shaving, he had explained, though they cast unflattering shadows that emphasized every line, every flaw. Is this really where 34 years had led? A woman who apologized for existing, who measured her words carefully at dinner, who had forgotten the sound of her own laughter. The woman in the mirror looked familiar but strange, like an old friend I hadn't seen in years. When had my eyes lost their spark? When had I started holding my shoulders in this perpetually apologetic hunch? I splashed cold water on my face and made a decision. At 4:15 a.m., I called Gwen from the guest bathroom, perched on the edge of the tub with the door locked and shower running to mask my voice. I was wondering when you'd call, she answered immediately, sounding wide awake despite the hour. I've been waiting for this call since that dinner at the Blakeleys last spring. You knew. Everyone knew, Marla. Everyone except maybe you. Her voice softened. What's the plan? I pulled out the legal pad I'd hidden beneath the stack of decorative towels Travis never used. I've been thinking about our options. I kept my voice low. We have joint savings of $46,920. I've managed to set aside $8,740 in my personal account over the years. Smart girl, Gwen murmured. My career prospects are solid if I can get recommendations from my old clients. You mentioned your firm might need marketing consultation? Absolutely. Partners have been complaining about our outdated materials for months. I hesitated before voicing my deepest concern. Travis's temper is getting worse, Gwen. Last month he threw his briefcase across the room when I questioned a charge on our credit card. Silence stretched between us. You'll stay with me if needed, Gwen finally said, no question in her voice. 21 days until Travis's birthday. I whispered, more to myself than to Gwen. The perfect time to hand him an unexpected gift. 21 days to either rebuild this marriage or end it with dignity intact. As dawn broke, I sat at our kitchen table with my laptop, researching post-nuptial agreements while Travis slept upstairs. The house was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional ping of the heating system coming to life. I printed sample documents, hiding them in a folder labeled Birthday Party Ideas. Gwen arrived at 10 with coffee and bagels, her legal expertise packed alongside cream cheese. Travis had left for his Saturday tennis game, giving us 3 uninterrupted hours. It's not revenge if it's just fair division, Marla, she said, spreading papers across the kitchen island. You're not asking for anything that isn't rightfully yours. Will he see it that way? Does it matter? By mid-afternoon, I had drafted a document that would either save my marriage by creating accountability or end it with fairness. The weight of secrecy should have been crushing, but instead, I felt the first clear thought I'd had in years. The fog of confusion that had surrounded me, was I overreacting? Was I being too sensitive? Had finally lifted. I closed my laptop as I heard Travis's key in the front door. For the first time in years, I didn't rush to greet him. Have you ever reached that moment where silence became louder than words? When did you first realize your worth wasn't being honored? 7 days after that sleepless night, I began my quiet preparation in the most anonymous place I could find. The Oak Ridge Public Library, with its faded carpet and flickering fluorescent lights, became my sanctuary. Do you need help finding anything? The elderly librarian's voice startled me as I settled at a computer in the far corner. Just checking email, I replied, the lie slipping out with practice ease. The methodical click of keys punctuated the library's hushed atmosphere as I created a new Gmail account one Travis would never know existed. marlab2408@gmail.com. My grandmother's initials, and the day we met. A small act of sentimentality in what had become a coldly strategic chess game. The document I began constructing wasn't just a record, it was architecture. Each password, account number, and transaction history formed the foundation of a structure I was building. My escape route. Chase joint checking, $46,920.14. Travis deposits $9,850. Monthly. Personal savings. Hidden. $8,740.26. Credit card debt. $12,346.79. Mostly Travis's business dinners. Mortgage balance. $342,500, 15 years remaining. I documented everything with the precision of an archaeologist, afraid to miss even the smallest artifact. Our wedding date. The interest rates on our loans. The secret credit card I'd opened 3 years ago when Travis had forgotten to transfer money before a business trip, leaving me stranded without grocery money for 4 days. Hours later, "Libraries are closing in 15 minutes," announced a voice over the intercom. I emailed the document to my new account, deleted my browsing history, and headed home with the strange lightness that comes from taking action after years of stagnation. The next morning, Gwen arrived at my door with a sleek laptop bag and determination in her eyes. "You don't have to do this," I said, glancing nervously at my neighbor watering plants across the street. "This isn't sneaky, Marla. This is self-preservation." Gwen stepped inside, kicking off her heels. "You've spent 7 years being the perfect wife while he's been, what did you call it? Building his empire. Time to protect your kingdom, too." We spent the afternoon creating a secure cloud drive with every important document I'd need. Our marriage certificate, property deeds, insurance policies, tax returns. With each upload, I felt my pulse steady. "I've seen this before," Gwen said, her fingers flying over the keyboard as she organized files. "When my sister left John, he claimed she never contributed to their finances. 15 years of managing their household meant nothing without documentation." "Travis wouldn't do that," I said automatically, then caught myself. "Actually, I don't know what he would do anymore." Gwen's eyes met mine. "Better to have protection you don't need than need protection you don't have." After Gwen left, I spread spreadsheets across our dining table, separating joint assets from my own contributions. Travis's country club membership, $24,000 annually. My student loans I'd paid off myself, $52,340. The renovation of his home office, $18,750. The hours I'd spent managing our household while he built his career, priceless, but also worthless in legal terms. I was downloading text forwarding software when the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Carol Wilson, Judge Wilson's wife, standing on my porch with a small gift bag. My stomach dropped as I quickly closed all my spreadsheets before opening the door. "Carol, what a surprise." I smoothed my hair, conscious of my sweatpants and Travis's old law school t-shirt. "I was in the neighborhood," she said, though we both knew the Wilsons lived 20 minutes away. "May I come in?" She sat primly on our sofa, declining tea but accepting water. At 60-something, Carol Wilson maintained the elegant posture of someone accustomed to being observed. Her silver hair was styled in a perfect bob, her navy cardigan immaculate. "I saw his joke hit you hard at Nate's party," she said without preamble, placing her water glass carefully on a coaster. Heat rushed to my face. "I'm handling it, Mrs. Wilson." "Carol, please. And I know you are." She leaned forward slightly. "But sometimes handling it means knowing when to walk away." The air between us thickened with unspoken understanding. "Robert handled our son's divorce last year," she continued. "The wife who documented everything, she walked away with dignity and her fair share." I remained silent, unwilling to confirm or deny anything. Carol reached for her purse. "There are rumors about property purchases Robert's concerned about. Just make sure you know what's in your name." My heart hammered against my ribs. Travis would discuss major purchases with me. Carol's knowing smile held decades of wisdom. "Of course he would," she said, standing to leave. "Oh, the gift is just some lavender bath salts. Self-care is essential during stressful times." After she left, I sat motionless, processing the unexpected alliance. Then I walked to my jewelry box and retrieved my grandmother's original engagement ring, the modest band with its single small diamond that Travis had insisted on upgrading 2 years into our marriage. For a moment, I considered pawning it for extra cash reserves. Instead, I slipped it onto my right hand, feeling its familiar weight. My grandmother's voice seemed to whisper from the past. "A ring is just metal and stone, it's the woman wearing it who determines its true value." I twisted the ring once, drew a deep breath, and returned to my spreadsheets. 3 weeks into my preparation, reality began testing my resolve. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday afternoon when Travis called from his office. My heartbeat quickened at the sound of his ringtone, a personalized chime I once found endearing. "Marla, there's a charge on our card for notary services." His voice carried that lawyerly precision he used with difficult clients. $200 at Westfield Legal. Care to explain? The lie came easier than I expected. The Henderson contract needed notarizing. You remember the social media campaign for their senior living community? I mentioned it last week. Did you? A pause. Seems expensive. They offer rush service. I kept my voice light, casual. The client needed it overnight. Another pause. The sound of papers shuffling. Next time use the firm's notary. No charge for family. Of course. Sorry about that. The apology slipped out automatically, though I'd done nothing wrong. The document's power of attorney forms that would give me access to our joint investments had been worth every penny. After hanging up, I pressed my palms against the cool granite countertop, steadying myself. One hurdle cleared. The second test came 2 days later over dinner. Travis swirled his wine, watching me over the rim of his glass with unusual attention. "I've been planning something," he announced, setting down his glass with a satisfied smile. "Our anniversary weekend. I've booked the cabin at Lake Winnipesaukee." My fork paused halfway to my mouth. Our anniversary was 3 weeks away, the exact weekend I'd scheduled to meet with Gwen to finalize divorce contingencies. I searched for the right word. Unexpected. His eyes narrowed slightly. "Unexpected? I thought you'd be thrilled. You've been so distant lately. I figured we needed time away." He reached across the table, his fingers brushing mine. Just the two of us. No phones, no interruptions. The touch of his hand made my skin crawl. I forced a smile. "I've been planning something special for you too. What timing?" His expression brightened, ego soothed. "Well, mine trumps whatever dinner reservation you've made. I've already paid the deposit." Of course he had. Travis never asked, decided, then expected gratitude for his generosity. "It sounds wonderful," I lied, mentally calculating how to reschedule with Gwen without raising suspicions. The metallic scrape of Travis's key in the front door had once meant comfort. Now it signaled the beginning of a nightly performance. Each evening, I'd listen for that sound, my pulse quickening as I prepared to become the version of Marla that Travis expected: agreeable, undemanding, grateful. The third and most dangerous test came from an unexpected quarter. Nate cornered me at a Saturday lunch Travis had to miss for an emergency client meeting. "You seem different lately," Nate observed, leaning back in the restaurant booth. He had the same appraising gaze as his brother, but less subtlety. "Travis mentioned you've been acting strange." I set down my water glass carefully. "Strange, how?" "Distracted. Secretive, maybe." He shrugged one shoulder. "Everything okay with you two?" For a moment, panic froze me. Had Travis noticed more than I realized? Had the notary charge tipped him off? The lake cabin invitation suddenly seemed less romantic gesture, more surveillance operation. "We're fine," I said, voice steadier than I felt. "Just busy with work. You know how it goes." Nate nodded, seemingly satisfied, but his ISO, like Travis's, remained watchful. That afternoon, I found myself in the public library's legal section, surrounded by books on family law. The familiar smell of old paper and binding glue calmed my rattled nerves as I took notes on marital property statutes in New Hampshire. "Finding what you need?" I startled, looking up to find an older librarian with kind eyes and a name tag reading, Eleanor. "Yes, thank you," I said, instinctively covering my notes with my hand. Eleanor's gaze flickered to the book titles spread before me, then back to my face. Something in her expression softened. "Family law?" She kept her voice low. "I went through it myself at 42. Best decision I ever made." The simple statement, offered without judgment, loosened something tight in my chest. "Was it difficult?" "Hardest thing I ever did," she admitted. "Also the most necessary." She tapped one of the books. "That one has the best information on asset division. The others focus too much on custody." I thanked her, throat suddenly tight with unexpected emotion. That evening, while Travis worked in his study, I opened my desk drawer and removed my grandmother's ring. The modest diamond caught the lamplight as I turned it between my fingers. If Travis contested the post-nuptial agreement, legal fees could exceed $15,000. Everything I'd squirreled away, and more. "Not yet," I whispered, returning the ring to its hiding place. "I still need the reminder of who I was before Travis, the woman who put herself through college and built a career." The next morning brought an unexpected opportunity. Travis dropped a stack of papers on the kitchen table as I prepared breakfast. "Need you to sign these?" he said, highlighting several lines with quick, efficient strokes. Home equity line of credit. Just sign where I highlighted, honey. Too much legal mumbo-jumbo to explain. I picked up the papers, scanning them while maintaining a look of mild interest. My heart skipped the document, included my name equally on all proceeds. This looks complicated, I said, accepting the pen he offered. Maybe I should read through it first? Travis laughed, checking his watch. It's standard boilerplate. The appointment took me 2 hours yesterday. Trust me, you don't want the details. His dismissal, so typical, so predictable, worked in my favor for once. I signed where indicated, knowing exactly what I was agreeing to. Travis collected the papers, kissed my cheek absently, and headed for the door. 3 hours later, the email arrived. $50,000 HELOC approved in our joint inbox. If you've ever had to smile at the person who's diminishing you while secretly planning your freedom, you know exactly how that email notification felt. Not just money options. My phone buzzed with a text from Gwen. Document ready for birthday. Just need your final approval. Before I could respond, another message appeared. Travis. Picking up dinner. Thinking about taking that management position in Chicago. We'll discuss tonight. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. Chicago? He'd never mentioned Chicago before. The game was changing. I needed to move faster. 6 days before Travis's birthday, I sat across from Dr. Bennett for our second confidential session. The gentle hum of a white noise machine outside her office door created a cocoon of safety conversations that couldn't be overheard. I'd chosen her specifically for her location 3 towns over, where Travis's social circle held no influence. Tell me about the first time, Dr. Bennett said, her voice calm as still water. She wore a simple cardigan the color of autumn leaves, her silver-streaked hair pulled back in a practical knot. The first time you felt humiliated by Travis but laughed anyway. My throat tightened. 4 years ago. Travis's firm holiday party. Take your time, she said, noticing my hands clasping and unclasping. He told everyone I'd gotten lost in the mall parking garage for 2 hours the week before. The memory crystallized with painful clarity. Said they should never let me drive because I'd end up in Canada before realizing I'd taken a wrong turn. And what was the truth? I was late because I'd stopped to help an elderly woman who'd fallen outside the department store, waited with her until the ambulance came. My voice sounded distant to my own ears. When I tried to explain, Travis put his arm around me and said, Honey, you don't need to make up stories. Everyone knows you're directionally challenged. And your response? I laughed, said he was right. The admission tasted bitter. Everyone joined in. It seemed easier than making a scene. Dr. Bennett nodded, making a small note. And now? I stared at the abstract painting behind her desk, blues and grays, swirling into something almost recognizable. Now I wonder how many scenes I should have made. The rest of the week unfolded in a careful ballet of preparation. Each morning before dawn, I laced up sneakers and walked 3 miles through neighborhood trails, watching the sunrise become a meditation on possibility. The cold New Hampshire air burned my lungs, a welcome reminder I was still breathing, still fighting. Evenings found me at the dining room table after Travis fell asleep, documenting every financial transaction of our marriage. Bank statements spread before me like evidence at a crime scene, post-its marking discrepancies between his stated income and our actual accounts. Saturday morning, I met Gwen at our usual coffee shop, strategically chosen for its distance from Travis's regular haunts. You're doing the right thing, she said, sliding a folder across the table. The post-nup is airtight. Either he signs and you have protection, or he refuses and shows his hand. I know, I whispered, stirring my coffee without drinking it. Gwen's eyes softened. You're stronger than you think, Marla. Not strength, I corrected. Necessity. Back in Dr. Bennett's office Monday afternoon, I caught myself twisting my wedding ring, the heavy diamond pressing painfully into my middle finger. That ringgit seems to bother you physically. Dr. Bennett's observation cut through my thoughts. I stilled my hands. Travis replaced my grandmother's ring 3 months after the wedding. Said a lawyer's wife needed something more substantial. The memory of his dismissive glance at my grandmother's modest diamonds still stung. He called her ring cute but tragic. What did your grandmother's ring mean to you? Everything, my voice caught. She raised 3 children alone after my grandfather died in Korea, worked 2 jobs, never remarried. That diamond represented her independence, not her loss. Dr. Bennett leaned forward slightly. Consider what each ring represents. Which one reflects who you truly are? The question lingered as I left her office, steps lighter than when I'd arrived. The ambush came Tuesday morning. I'd just settled at my desk when a familiar figure appeared in my office doorway. Nate Caldwell, in a charcoal suit nearly identical to ones Travis wore, leaned against the frame with practiced casualness. Working hard or hardly working, sis? His smile didn't reach his eyes. My pulse quickened, but years of performing composure at Travis's side had prepared me for this moment. Instead of stammering an excuse, I closed my laptop. Nate, what a surprise. Have you had lunch? His eyebrows lifted slightly, the first sign I'd disrupted his script. Having lunch with Nate wasn't about brotherly bondage, it was reconnaissance to see what Travis might have shared. 20 minutes later, we sat in a bistro across from my office building. I ordered a salad I knew I wouldn't eat, watching him scan the wine list before settling on sparkling water. Travis says you've been distant lately. Nate's voice carried the same cross-examination tone his brother used in court. Trouble in paradise? I maintained a composed smile, breaking a breadstick in half with deliberate precision. Marriage has its seasons. Travis and I are just prioritizing differently right now. Prioritizing? Nate leaned forward. Like your secret therapy sessions? The breadstick snapped completely in my hands, but my expression didn't change. Nothing secret about self-improvement, Nate. I've been quite open with Travis about my personal growth efforts. A technical truth, I'd mentioned appointments, without specifying their nature. He's worried about you, Nate pressed. Says you've been acting strange ever since your performance review at work. And there it was. The real fishing expedition. Travis had always framed my career advancement as something threatening rather than celebratory. Dr. Bennett had helped me see the pattern during our first session. My promotion was unexpected but welcome, I said lightly. Sometimes good fortune requires adjustment. Nate studied me like a puzzle missing pieces. I'd never been this direct with him before, had always played the accommodating sister-in-law. That evening, after checking that Travis was engrossed in case preparation, I called Gwen. You won't believe what I found, she whispered. Travis has been talking to real estate agents about Chicago properties for 3 months. He's been telling them he's relocating for partner track. What's the catch? I asked, knowing there always was one with Travis. The values are significantly lower than what he's been claiming. So much for his financial genius's reputation. For the first time in weeks, genuine laughter bubbled up in my chest. I'm not confronting him about Chicago, I decided. That information stays in my pocket until after the birthday agreement. 3 more days of quiet preparation. 3 more days of building my arsenal of truth. The weapons I gathered weren't forged in rage, but in clarity etched document, each revelation, each recorded joke, another link in a chain that would either bind us to honesty or release me completely. The evening of Travis's 37th birthday arrived with perfect New England winter clarity, as if the universe were bringing everything into sharp focus. The colonial-style dining room of our home glows, with amber light from the chandelier. Travis insisted we upgrade last spring. Outside, snow falls in fat, silent flakes, adding another inch to the pristine blanket covering our manicured lawn. I adjust the centerpiece of winter holly and white roses, my fingers steady despite the thundering in my chest. 7 years of marriage have taught me to perform calm while hurricanes rage inside. Something smells amazing, Travis calls from the entryway. His voice carries that particular timbre of practiced charm, the same voice he uses to sway reluctant jurors. I step back to survey the table. 8 place settings of our wedding china. Crystal wine glasses catching light like tiny beacons. Linen napkins folded into perfect triangles. A birthday dinner where nothing appears out of place. Especially not me. Marla, Where's the Macallan? Travis appears in the archway, freshly showered and wearing the charcoal suit I'd laid out. He adjusts his cufflinks, the platinum ones, with tiny scales of justice that Nate gave him last Christmas. Bar cart in the study, I answer, smoothing my dress. I'd chosen it carefully, emerald silk that falls just below my knees. Nothing Travis purchased, nothing he's seen before. Judge Wilson called. They'll be here in 10 minutes. Travis nods, his eyes flickering over me. You look different tonight. It's a special occasion, I reply, meeting his gaze without flinching. The doorbell chimes before he can respond. Nate arrives first, with a bottle of champagne and a rectangular package wrapped in silver paper. Judge Wilson and Carol follow, then Travis's law partner Michael and his wife Susan. The final guests are Gwen and her husband Peter, arriving precisely on time as arranged. Travis holds court in the living room, accepting congratulations on his birthday and hinting at his impending partnership announcement. I float between kitchen and dining room, presenting the perfectly timed appetizers while keeping my distance from Gwen's knowing eyes. To my brilliant brother, Nate toasts once we're seated for dinner. 37 looks good on you. Chicago's legal scene won't know what hit them. My fingers tighten around my water glass at this confirmation of Travis's undisclosed plans. Across the table, Carol Wilson catches the moment, her eyes widening slightly. Chicago? Judge Wilson raises an eyebrow. Travis laughs, shooting Nate a warning glance. Just exploring options. Nothing decided. The conversation flows around me as I serve each course with mechanical precision. My mind remains focused on the small gold-wrapped box tucked in the buffet drawer behind me. Between the main course and dessert, Travis begins opening his gifts. A titanium watch from Nate, antique law books from Judge Wilson, premium golf clubs from Michael, each gift more extravagant than the last. The distinctive sound of expensive wrapping paper tearing punctuates the Ariok rip, like the sound of my resolve strengthening. You've been spoiled thoroughly, Carol says, patting Travis's hand. What could Marla possibly have gotten you to compete with all this? All eyes turn to me. Travis's smile tightens at the corners, the tell I've cataloged for years that signals his discomfort with not controlling the moment. Actually, I say, moving toward the buffet, I do have something. The room quiets as I retrieve the small box wrapped in gold paper with a precise bow. The weight of it in my hands feels monumental, despite its size. I place it before Travis, conscious of Judge Wilson watching intently. Happy birthday, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. Travis picks up the box, shaking it playfully. Feels light for jewelry, he jokes to the table. Maybe tickets to that jazz festival? His fingers tear through the wrapping paper, lifting the lid to reveal a document folded into perfect thirds. A gold pen rests atop it. What's this? His voice holds confusion rather than concern. Some kind of contract? It's a post-nuptial agreement, I explain, my hands trembling slightly despite weeks of rehearsal. A mutual protection agreement for both of us. The smile freezes on Travis's face. What? A document outlining fair division of our assets and earnings. I continue, aware of Judge Wilson straightening in his chair. Given your career advancement and our different contributions to our partnership. Travis laughs, a sharp, disbelieving sound. You can't be serious. This is my birthday dinner. I'm completely serious. My voice remains level despite the rapid flutter of my pulse. It protects both of us going forward. For 17 excruciating seconds, the room falls silent. Every eye turns to me with expressions ranging from shock to pity. One step toward the door was all it would take to escape the suffocating tension. Instead, I remain rooted beside Travis's chair. Is this about Chicago? Travis hisses, low enough that only I can hear. Because if you're trying to embarrass me, this isn't about embarrassment, I interrupt, loud enough for everyone to hear. It's about clarity. 2 minutes that would determine the next 2 decades of my life. 2 minutes of silence that felt like drowning. My fingers find my wedding ring, twisting it once a habit, 7 years in the making. I take a deep breath and stand taller. This isn't about distrust, Travis. It's about clarity. about putting in writing what we both want for our future. I offer him the gold pen with a steady hand. It ensures we both have security, regardless of where your career takes us. Around the table, discomfort shifts to something else, a curious tension. Judge Wilson studies Travis with an unreadable expression. Gwen maintains perfect composure, though I know her heart must be racing as fast as mine. Nate looks between his brother and me, comprehension slowly dawning. Travis takes the pen, his jaw working. The room seems to hold its collective breath. "If this makes you happy, Marla," he finally says, his voice tight, though it's completely unnecessary. With a flourish meant to demonstrate his magnanimity, he signs without reading the document exactly as I'd predicted. Judge Wilson witnesses the signature, his expression neutral but his eyes missing nothing. Travis caps the pen with a click that echoes in the silent room. "Well," he says with forced lightness, "that was the most expensive gift I've ever received." Nervous laughter ripples around the table. Susan looks relieved that the uncomfortable moment has passed. Michael studies me with new interest. "Who's ready for cake?" I ask, slipping the signed document into the pocket of my dress. As I turn toward the kitchen, I catch Carol Wilson's small nod of approval. For the first time in years, I feel the unfamiliar sensation of power shifting beneath my feet like standing on solid ground after years at sea. 24 hours after Travis signed the post-nuptial agreement, I sit across from Gwen in her law office, watching her review the document one last time. "It's perfect," she says, sliding it into a manila folder. "Every signature witnessed, every asset documented. He didn't even read the fine print about property acquired during marriage. He never does." I accept the folder, fingers tracing its edges. Travis believes paperwork is beneath him unless it's billable hours. Gwen leans back in her chair, the leather creaking softly. "Are you sure about the timing? Christmas dinner is." "Perfect," I finish for her. "Everyone who witnessed his humiliation of me will witness something else entirely." The next 3 weeks pass in careful preparation. I fold crimson napkins into perfect triangles, polish silverware that belonged to Travis's grandmother, and select wines that Judge Wilson particularly enjoys. Travis moves through our home with newfound attentiveness, his eyes tracking me when he thinks I'm not looking. "You seem different," he says one evening, coming up behind me as I arrange poinsettias on the dining table. His hands rest on my shoulders, thumbs pressing slightly too hard against my collarbones. "Happier." "I am," I answer truthfully. The day of our Christmas dinner arrives with perfect winter clarity. Morning sunlight catches in the crystal glasses I've arranged on our dining table, sending prisms dancing across white linen. The sound of wine bottles being uncorked echoes through our kitchen celebration, about to transform into confrontation. Travis adjusts his tie in the hallway mirror, the burgundy silk matching the table runner I selected. "Judge Wilson called this morning, bringing that new partner from Boston." "How thoughtful," I reply, sliding the folder containing my divorce papers into the same gold gift box that had held the post-nuptial agreement. "More connections for you." His smile in the mirror reaches his eyes for once. "Exactly. This dinner could change everything for us." "I'm counting on it," I say and mean it. By 7, our dining room hums with conversation. Judge Wilson holds court at one end of the table, his wife Carol beside him, nodding at appropriate intervals. Nate and his wife sit across from Gwen and Valerie, an arrangement I made deliberately. Travis stands to carve the prime rib, the knife flashing under chandelier light. "Before we eat," Travis announces, setting down the carving knife, "I have some news." Everyone turns toward him. I sip my water, the ice clinking against crystal. "I've been offered partnership track in Chicago," he says, his smile wide and triumphant. "The firm wants me to open their Midwest division. We'll be moving after New Year's." Glasses raise around the table. Nate's congratulations come immediately, too practiced, his eyes darting to gauge my reaction. Judge Wilson offers a measured, "Well done," while Carol studies her plate. "To new beginnings," Travis toasts, looking directly at me. 2 hours of perfectly timed dinner conversation unfold before dessert will be served. 2 hours before I will serve something else entirely. We discuss the Chicago housing market, which Travis has researched without telling me, schools in the area, which he assumes I'll want to know about, and the prestige of the new position, which apparently justifies uprooting my life without consultation. I touch my stomach beneath the table while Travis describes lake views from high-rise condominiums, 9 weeks of secret morning sickness, of prenatal vitamins hidden in my desk drawer, of ultrasound images secured in Gwen's safe. When the dessert plates are cleared, I rise from my chair. "I have something for everyone," I announce, my voice steadier than I expected. "Especially you, Travis." Valerie catches my eye from across the table, a small nod of encouragement. I place the gold-wrapped box in front of Travis. "Merry Christmas." His laugh sounds genuine. "Another gift, Marla? You're spoiling me." The room falls quiet as he unwraps the package, his fingers carelessly tearing the paper I'd folded with such precision. His expression shifts from amusement to confusion as he pulls out the legal documents. "What's this?" he asks, flipping through the first few pages. "Divorce papers." I say clearly. "I filed 3 days ago. The agreement you signed specifies division of assets acquired during marriage." Travis's face drains of color. "You can't file for divorce. I just signed that agreement as a gift." Gwen sets down her wine glass. "The agreement is legally binding, Travis." Marla was very thorough. Judge Wilson doesn't speak, but his slight nod in my direction carries more validation than any words could offer. "You planned this?" Travis whispers, fury tightening his features. "Yes," I say simply. "I did." The silence stretches between us, broken only by the tick of the grandfather clock in the hallway. Travis stands abruptly, his chair scraping against hardwood. Nate follows suit, hand on his brother's shoulder. "There's one more thing you should know," I say, reaching into my purse. I slide a third envelope across the table. Unlike the others, this one is plain white, clinical. Travis stares at it without touching it. "What now?" "Open it." His hands shake slightly as he tears the envelope. The sonogram image slips out, the small white shape clearly visible against the black background. Travis's eyes widen, his jaw tightening as he registers what he's seeing. 9 weeks? I explain, my voice quiet but carrying in the silent room. "I don't want anything more than what's fair, but our child deserves stability. Your choice, how we proceed from here." Carol Wilson exhales softly. Judge Wilson studies the ceiling molding with sudden interest. Gwen's hand finds mine under the table, a gentle squeeze of support. Travis sinks back into his chair, the papers scattered before him like fallen leaves. For once, he has no clever response, no dismissive joke at my expense. The man who has spent years crafting words to diminish me now sits wordless. "I never planned to be a single mother," I continue, finding strength in his silence. "But I'd rather raise a child alone than in a home where disrespect is served at every meal." Nate starts to speak, but Judge Wilson raises his hand. "This seems like a private conversation that deserves respect and consideration." He stands, signaling to the others. "We should give Travis and Marla some privacy." As our guests file out, Carol pauses beside me. "You have our number," she says quietly. "Anytime." When the front door closes behind them, Travis and I face each other across the ruins of our Christmas dinner. The candles have burned low, wax pooling on silver holders. "You won't make it without me," he says finally, but the words lack conviction. I touch the edge of the sonogram. "That's not true. I've already proven I can plan an exit strategy while making your favorite meals and hosting your business dinners. Imagine what I can accomplish when I'm not diminishing myself to accommodate your ego." Travis stares at me as if seeing me clearly for the first time in years. The joke he made about me disappearing had precipitated not just my legal preparation, but a complete reclamation of my life. The final irony was that by planning my departure, I had discovered my own voice. "The guest room is made up," I tell him, gathering the papers. "You can stay there tonight. We'll discuss logistics tomorrow." As I leave him sitting alone at our dining table, I feel neither triumph nor regrettingly the steady certainty that comes with reclaiming your worth. 6 months after that Christmas dinner revelation, I stand in the nursery of my redesigned home, watching morning sunlight pour through windows that no longer have his heavy drapes. The walls, once an austere gray Travis insisted would showcase our art collection, now glow a soft yellow that captures and holds the light. A maple rocking chair sits in the corner where his rarely used desk once dominated the space. Wind chimes hang in the open window, their gentle melody floating through the room. The sound matches my heartbeat rather than constricts it, rising and falling with each breath I take. So different from the oppressive silence Travis demanded or the careful rhythm of conversation required at his dinner parties. I smooth my hand over the quilt Valerie helped me stitch, fingers tracing the pattern we created from fabric scraps of my grandmother's dresses. Tiny yellow ducks march across one corner, a whimsical touch Travis would have vetoed without discussion. Too childish, he would have said, the same dismissive head tilt he shared with Nate whenever my preferences didn't align with his vision. The crib arrived yesterday. I assembled it myself with Gwen sitting cross-legged on the floor, reading instructions and handing me parts while balancing her wine glass on her knee. We laughed until our sides hurt when I attached the front panel upside down, something that would have sparked a day-long criticism from Travis. He would have taken over after my first mistake. I tell Gwen as we finally get it right. Then reminded me for weeks how I couldn't follow simple instructions. Well, your daughter won't care which way the ducks face, Gwen says, raising her glass in a toast. She'll only care that her mom built this for her. On the wall above the changing table hangs a custom frame containing 3 items: the sonogram showing my daughter's profile, the signed post-nuptial agreement that secured our future, and the property deed bearing my name alone. Not a shrine to bitterness, but a testament to preparation meeting opportunity. I open the top drawer of the dresser, fingers brushing over impossibly small clothes folded with precision. At the back of the drawer rests a small jewelry box containing my grandmother's modest diamond ring, now permanently moved to my right hand. Travis's ostentatious 3-carat stone had paid for the nursery furniture with enough left over to start a college fund. The jeweler seemed surprised when I didn't hesitate at his offer. Family heirloom? He'd asked, examining the large diamond. No, I answered truthfully. Just an expensive mistake I'm finally correcting. In the bathroom, I splash cool water on my face, studying my reflection. The woman who stares back seems both familiar and newfuller, perhaps, with my daughter growing inside me, but with a clarity of purpose I hadn't felt in years. No more practiced smile that never reached my eyes. No more careful application of appropriate makeup to meet Travis's standards. The scale in the corner no longer holds power over my morning. Travis's voice doesn't echo in my head with reminders about watching those pregnancy pounds. Instead, Doctor Bennett's voice reminds me that my body is creating life, deserving celebration rather than criticism. I settle into the rocking chair, hand resting on my rounded belly, feeling my daughter's persistent kicks against my palm. She's active this morning, making her presence known, already demonstrating more determination than I allowed myself to show for years. Your mom finally found her voice again, I whisper to her. Took me long enough, but I promise you'll never lose yours. The house creaks and settles around me, sounds I once fretted over when Travis would complain about that damn noise. Now they're simply the sounds of home, a structure built in 1910 that breathes and shifts like a living thing. I've repainted every room, replaced the dark leather furniture with softer textures, and filled vases with flowers Travis claimed irritated his allergies. The therapy sessions with Dr. Bennett continue weekly. Revenge wasn't winning over Travis, she helped me understand during yesterday's appointment. It was winning myself back. She's right. Travis and his family have receded from my daily thoughts, becoming characters in a story I lived through rather than active presences in my life. The post-nuptial agreement wasn't just legal protection, it was my declaration of worth. The prenatal appointments I attend alone aren't lonely, they're peaceful. The decisions I make without debate or justification aren't selfish, they're mine. 3 months until my daughter arrives. 3 months to finalize what I've learned, that sometimes the greatest strength is found in quiet preparation rather than loud confrontation. That dignity doesn't always wear a brave face. Sometimes it looks like documentation, planning, and the courage to imagine a different future. My phone chimes with a notification. A letter has arrived, forwarded by Gwen's law office where all my mail still goes as a precaution. The return address surprises me. Judge Robert Wilson. I open it with curious fingers. Marla, it begins in formal handwriting. I've seen many divorces in my career. Few have been handled with your grace and foresight. If you ever consider using your experience to help others, my door is open. Carol sends her regards and hopes you'll join us for dinner once you're settled with your daughter. I smile, placing the letter in my desk drawer beside the business plan for New Beginnings, a consulting practice I've been developing. Not for revenge or vindication, but because no one should waste 7 years before discovering their own power. The wind chimes sing again as a spring breeze catches them. I close my eyes, rocking gently, hands cradling my daughter. Sometimes the most important signature isn't the one on a marriage certificate, it's the one on the document that sets you free to become who you were always meant to be.